The scream came from somewhere above the music. At first, Clara Bennett thought it was part of the entertainment. Whitmore Pleasure Gardens was full of noise that afternoon. Children laughing beneath striped awnings, brass musicians playing beside the fountain, vendors calling out hot pies and sugared almonds, mechanical rides groaning and spinning beneath a clear summer sky. Then the scream came again. This time, every head turned upward. The enormous Ferris wheel had stopped. One of its carriages hung almost sideways near the top, and inside it was a little boy. Alone. "Someone help him!" A woman dropped the parasol in her hand. Men rushed toward the iron structure while attendants began shouting for everyone to move backward. Clara stood frozen for less than a second. Then she saw the boy's hands gripping the carriage rail. He could not have been older than 8. His face was pale. His mouth was open in terror. Another metallic crack rang across the park. The carriage dipped. The crowd screamed. Clara ran. "Miss, stop!" One of the park attendants caught her arm. "That structure may collapse. There is a child up there. We know." "Then why is nobody going?" The attendant stared at the wheel helplessly. "The emergency ladder does not reach the upper platform. We must wait for the engineers." Clara looked upward again. The carriage shifted. The boy cried out. They did not have time for engineers. Clara pulled her arm free. "What are you doing?" the attendant demanded. "Something foolish." She caught the first iron support and began climbing. The crowd erupted beneath her. "Come down! You'll kill yourself!" "Miss, stop!" Clara ignored them. Her shoes were not meant for climbing. Neither was her dress. She tore the side of her skirt deliberately, freeing her legs enough to move. The higher she climbed, the smaller the people below became. That was when fear finally reached her. The iron supports trembled beneath her hands. She made the mistake of looking down. The earth seemed impossibly far away. Her stomach tightened. She closed her eyes briefly. Then the boy cried again. "Please." Clara looked up. "Not down. Never down again. I am coming. You'll fall. So will you, if you keep shouting instead of holding still." The boy immediately stopped moving. That was good. Fear could make children dangerous to themselves. Clara had learned that while teaching. One frightened child could overturn a desk, break a window, or run directly toward whatever they were trying to escape. She continued climbing. A maintenance worker below managed to throw a rope upward. It struck the iron beams, slid, then dropped. "Again!" Clara shouted. The second attempt came closer. She caught it. Applause broke out beneath her. Clara wrapped the rope around her waist and continued. When she finally reached the carriage, she understood why the workers had been terrified. One of its main fastenings had split. The metal joint was twisted. The carriage was being held by little more than a secondary bracket. The boy stared at Clara as if she were some impossible creature who had climbed out of the sky. His brown hair had fallen across his forehead. Tears ran openly down his cheeks. "Are you hurt?" He shook his head. "What is your name?" "Oliver." "Very well, Oliver. My name is Clara." The carriage creaked. Oliver whimpered. Clara forced herself to smile. "Do you know what I require from you?" He shook his head again. "I need you to be braver than every adult standing below us." His eyes widened. "I am not brave. Neither am I." He stared at her. "But you climbed up here." "My hands are shaking." Clara showed him. They were. Oliver looked astonished. "Are you frightened?" "Completely." "Then why did you come?" Clara studied him. Because no child should be left alone inside fear. Because once, long ago, she had needed someone to come for her. Because people spent too much time waiting for somebody more important to do the right thing. But she gave him the simplest answer. Being frightened is not the same as leaving someone alone. Oliver swallowed, then nodded. "Now," Clara said, "we are going down." She tied the rope around him first. Below, the maintenance workers shouted instructions. Another rope was raised. Clara fastened it around the carriage frame. Only then did she notice the broken metal joint properly. It was not merely cracked. It was rusted almost completely through. Deep orange corrosion covered the bolt. Clara frowned. A machine this large could not develop damage like that overnight. Someone had known. Someone must have seen it. She looked down toward the workers. One man stood apart from the others. Older, gray cap, heavy brown coat despite the warm day. He was staring directly at the broken fastening. Their eyes met. His face changed. Not surprise. Fear. Then the man bent quickly, lifted something small from beneath the wheel's base, and pushed it inside his coat. Clara's attention sharpened. What had he hidden? "Miss Clara?" Oliver's voice brought her back. "Look at me," she said. The boy obeyed. "Do not look down." "Were you looking down?" "No, you were." Oliver. For the first time, a tiny smile touched his face. Good. If he could tease her, he could move. Clara climbed onto the support beam beside the carriage. She extended one hand. "Come." Oliver hesitated. The entire wheel groaned. The remaining bracket snapped halfway loose. "Now!" Oliver lunged toward her. Clara caught him. The carriage dropped several inches behind them. The crowd below screamed. Oliver buried his face against Clara's shoulder. "I have you!" The descent felt twice as long. Clara climbed with Oliver secured against her, while the men below controlled the safety rope. Every muscle in her arms burned. Her palms tore against the iron. Twice her foot slipped. Each time she heard the crowd gasp. She refused to look down. At last, hands reached upward. Workers pulled Oliver from her. Then Clara. Her shoes touched the ground. For several seconds she could not stand. Her knees gave way. People surrounded her. Someone cheered. Then everyone began cheering. Oliver threw his arms around her before anyone could stop him. Clara held him tightly. "You see?" she whispered. "Braver than all of them." I cried. So did half the people below. Oliver looked around. Several women were indeed wiping their eyes. That seemed to satisfy him. Then a man in an expensive black coat forced his way through the crowd. Sebastian Vale. Clara did not know his name yet. She only saw a polished gentleman whose concern seemed less focused on the child and more on the hundreds of watching visitors. "Ladies and gentlemen," he called, "everything is under control. The emergency has been managed." Clara turned slowly. "Managed?" The man's smile remained fixed. "Yes, miss. Thanks to our excellent staff and your excellent staff told me to wait." Silence spread around them. Sebastian's smile tightened. Clara pointed upward. That carriage was held by a rusted fastening. His eyes flickered. Only briefly, but Clara saw it. An unfortunate mechanical defect. That was not a defect that appeared this morning. Several visitors murmured. Sebastian stepped closer. His voice lowered. "You have done a courageous thing, miss. I suggest you allow us to handle the rest. You nearly dropped a child from the sky." The murmuring grew louder. Oliver squeezed Clara's hand. Sebastian noticed. "Who are you?" "Clara Bennett." "And your connection to Master Oliver?" "None." That answer caused another ripple through the crowd. Sebastian frowned. "Then perhaps you should concern yourself with your own affairs." Clara opened her mouth. Before she could answer, horses thundered somewhere beyond the main avenue. People turned. A dark carriage came racing through the gates far too quickly. It stopped beside the Ferris wheel. The door flew open. The man who stepped out looked nothing like the composed gentleman who had been strolling through the park moments before. He was tall, perhaps 35. His dark coat was unbuttoned. His hair had been disturbed by the wind. And his face carried the kind of fear that stripped rank, wealth, and pride from a man in an instant. "Oliver." The boy released Clara. "Father!" He ran. The man dropped to one knee and caught him. For several seconds he said nothing. He merely held the child. Clara looked away. There were moments too private to watch. When the man finally stood, one hand remained firmly on Oliver's shoulder. "Are you hurt?" "No." "What happened?" Oliver pointed at Clara. She climbed the wheel. The man's eyes moved toward her. For a moment, neither spoke. Clara became aware of her torn dress, her bleeding palms, her hair falling from its pins. She must have looked dreadful. The stranger seemed not to notice. "You saved my son." "I helped him down." "You climbed 70 feet of iron to reach him." "I did not count the feet." Something almost like disbelief crossed his expression. Then his gaze moved upward toward the broken carriage. His face hardened. Sebastian approached quickly. "Sir, there was an unexpected mechanical failure, but the situation has been completely contained." Clara laughed once. She had not meant to. Everyone looked at her. "Forgive me," she said. "I simply find that an interesting description of almost killing a child." Sebastian's jaw tightened. The stranger looked at him. "What does she mean?" "Nothing, sir. Miss Bennet is understandably distressed." "I am not distressed." Clara held up her bleeding hand. "I am angry." Oliver's father looked back at her. She pointed toward the wheel. "That fastening was rusted, badly. Someone should have replaced it long before today." Sebastian interrupted. "Miss Bennet is not an engineer." "No," Clara replied, "but I have seen rust." Oliver covered a smile. His father noticed. Something in the stranger's expression softened briefly. Then he turned to Clara. "I owe you more than I can say. You owe your son an explanation." Sebastian looked horrified. Clara expected the man to become offended. Instead, he studied her more carefully. Most wealthy men she had encountered disliked being corrected. This one looked intrigued. "Perhaps I do." He reached into his coat. "I would like to compensate you." Clara stared at the banknotes in his hand, then at him. "No." He paused. "You misunderstand. I do not." "You may name any reasonable sum." "No." His brows drew together. "Miss Bennet, you risked your life. For a frightened boy." "Precisely." Clara lowered her voice. "Your son believed he was about to die. I will not turn that fear into a transaction." The stranger slowly lowered the money. Oliver looked from one adult to the other. "Father." She missed her appointment. Clara turned sharply. "How do you know that?" "You told me when we were climbing down." She had forgotten. "What appointment?" the stranger asked. "A school position." "And you missed it because of Oliver?" Clara regretted speaking about it immediately. "That is not his concern." "Where?" She shook her head. "I said it is not his concern." Then she looked at Oliver. "Goodbye." His face fell. "You're leaving?" "I have somewhere to be." "Will I see you again?" Clara forced a smile. "Perhaps." She turned. "Miss Bennet." The stranger's voice stopped her. She glanced back. "My name is Adrian. Only Adrian. No title. No explanation." Clara nodded once. "Then take care of your son, Adrian." And she walked away. By the time Clara reached the schoolhouse on Church Lane, the door was already being locked. The headmistress recognized her name. "I am terribly sorry, Miss Bennet. We waited nearly an hour. There was an accident at the pleasure gardens." "I heard." "Then you understand." The older woman's expression softened. "I understand. But another candidate was here, and the governors required the position filled today." Clara's stomach sank. "I see. You did a remarkable thing." Remarkable. That word followed Clara all the way back toward the seafront. Remarkable did not pay for a room. Remarkable did not buy supper. Remarkable would not change the fact that she had enough money remaining for perhaps 2 nights at Mrs. Finch's boarding house. By evening, she was sitting alone on a bench overlooking the sea when someone placed a paper bag beside her. Clara looked up. An older woman with round spectacles and flower on her sleeves smiled. "You saved that boy. I am beginning to suspect everyone in Blackmere saw it." "Everyone did." The woman sat down, Agatha Bell. Clara Bennett. I own the confectionery stall beside the South Pavilion. Clara remembered her. Mrs. Bell had been among those helping clear people away beneath the wheel. I hear you lost an employment interview. Clara sighed. Does everyone know that too? Amusement parks are built on gossip and sugar. Despite herself, Clara smiled. Mrs. Bell pushed the paper bag toward her. Inside were 2 pastries. I require help. Clara looked at her. Temporary help. Serving sweets, keeping accounts, stopping children from stealing more toffee than their mothers purchased. I was a school teacher. Excellent. Then you are already trained for warfare. Clara laughed. For the first time that day, properly. Thank you. Begin tomorrow. And so, the woman who had almost fallen from the Ferris wheel returned to Whitmore Pleasure Gardens the following morning wearing an apron. Shortly before noon, a familiar face appeared at the confectionery stall. Oliver, alone. Clara stared at him. What are you doing here? Buying a sweet. You have 6 attendants searching for you somewhere, don't you? No. Behind him, 2 uniformed servants rushed past in panic. Oliver lowered his voice. Possibly. Clara folded her arms. What would you like? 1 peppermint. She gave him 1. He ate it. His face twisted. You don't like peppermint? No. Then why did you buy it? Oliver glanced at the counter. Because I wanted to see if you were here. Clara's expression softened. Before she could answer, a woman called his name from across the promenade. Oliver sighed. My governess. He began to leave, then stopped. My father asked about you. Clara looked up. What did he ask? If anyone knew where you were staying. Clara frowned. And? I told him I didn't know. Good. Oliver grinned, then ran. Clara watched him disappear into the crowd. She almost returned to arranging the sweets when 2 men arguing behind the stall caught her attention. Maintenance workers. One voice sounded frightened. I told you before yesterday. Lower your voice. The brake on the railway carriage is worse than the wheel was. Clara stopped moving. Vale said the inspection was completed. Vale says whatever keeps people paying at the gates. A pause. Then, someone will be killed next time. Clara stepped around the stall. The men had already walked away, but across the promenade stood another worker. Gray cap. Heavy brown coat. The same man she had seen beneath the Ferris wheel. The one who had hidden something inside his coat. He was watching her. Clara stared back. The man's face changed. He turned and disappeared between 2 buildings. That evening, Clara finished helping Mrs. Bell close the stall. The crowds faded. Music stopped. One by one, the park's bright lamps were extinguished. Clara walked toward the entrance. Footsteps followed. She turned. Nobody. She continued. The footsteps returned. Closer. Clara quickened her pace. The main gates were ahead. She reached them. Locked. Her pulse quickened. You are leaving late. The voice came from behind her. Clara spun. A man stepped from the shadows. Not the worker. Adrian. She exhaled. You frightened me. He looked beyond her into the darkness. You were being followed. Clara stiffened. You saw him? I did. Adrian's expression had changed. The warmth she had briefly seen yesterday was gone. Tell me what happened. Clara hesitated. Before she could answer, 2 park workers passed nearby. The moment they saw Adrian, both men stopped. Then they lowered their heads respectfully. Good evening, sir. Adrian nodded. The men continued. Clara stared after them, then at him. Something about that small gesture felt wrong. Not wrong exactly. Important. Yesterday, Sebastian had deferred to him. Today, workers bowed their heads. Oliver could wander anywhere inside the park. And Adrian moved through locked grounds as though every gate belonged to him. Clara narrowed her eyes. Who exactly are you? For the first time since she had met him, Adrian did not answer immediately. Then he stepped closer. "Someone who needs to know what you heard tonight." Clara's unease deepened. Behind them, somewhere inside the dark amusement park, metal struck metal. Once, twice, then silence. And Clara suddenly wondered whether saving Oliver from that Ferris wheel had been the end of an accident, or the beginning of something much more dangerous. Clara did not move. The amusement park around them had become unnaturally quiet. Only the distant groan of cooling machinery and the soft hiss of gas lamps remained. Adrian stood before her with his hands behind his back, waiting. "You said someone followed me," Clara said. "Yes. And now you want to know what I heard?" "Yes." She studied him. "Then perhaps you should answer my question first." His expression did not change. "Who are you?" Adrian glanced toward the darkened Ferris wheel. "A man with certain interests in this place. That explains absolutely nothing. It explains enough for tonight." Clara almost laughed. "You appear when the gates are locked. Employees bow when you pass. Mr. Vale speaks to you as though you may dismiss him with a sentence, and yet you expect me not to ask questions." Adrian stepped closer. "I expect you to decide whether what you heard may place people in danger." That silenced her. She thought of the maintenance workers. "Someone will be killed next time." "The railway brakes," she said finally. Adrian's face tightened. "What about them?" "Two workers were arguing behind Mrs. Bell's stall. One said the brakes were worse than the Ferris wheel." "Did they mention a carriage number?" "No." "Anything else?" "They said Mr. Vale knew." Adrian became very still. Clara noticed it immediately. "You believe me?" "I have no reason not to. Most men in your position would defend their manager. You still do not know my position. Whose fault is that?" For 1 second, something almost amused moved through Adrian's eyes. Then it vanished. "Was there anything else?" Clara hesitated. "The man who followed me." "Yes? I saw him yesterday." "Where?" "Beneath the Ferris wheel." Adrian's attention sharpened. He was staring at the broken fastening. Then he picked something from the ground and hid it inside his coat. "What?" "I could not see." Adrian looked toward the maintenance buildings. His jaw hardened. "Go back to your boarding house." Clara folded her arms. "You are giving orders again. I am asking you not to walk alone through the park after dark." That sounded very much like an order. "Then consider it an unusually sensible one." Before Clara could respond, he unlocked the gate himself. That only deepened the mystery. She passed him, then stopped. "Adrian." He looked at her. "If people are in danger, do not wait until another child is hanging above the ground before you act." His expression changed. Something painful crossed it. "I will not." Clara left. Adrian remained beneath the gate until she disappeared down the road. Then he turned back toward the park. His face had lost every trace of gentleness. "Find Sebastian Vale," he told a nearby guard. "Now." The following morning, Clara arrived before the gates opened. Mrs. Bell was already preparing trays of sweets. "You look as though you slept badly," she said. "I did. Because of a man?" Clara nearly dropped the jar in her hands. "Certainly not." Mrs. Bell smiled. "That means yes. It means someone followed me last night." The smile disappeared. Clara told her what had happened. Mrs. Bell's hands slowed. "You should stay away from the maintenance yard." "That is what everyone keeps telling me." "Perhaps everyone is correct." Clara looked across the park. Workers were inspecting the Ferris wheel. Others stood beside the wooden railway. For the first time, she noticed several attractions had not opened. Visitors were beginning to complain. "Something is happening." Mrs. Bell followed her gaze. "Mr. Vale will not like losing money." "Is he the owner?" Mrs. Bell stared at her, then burst out laughing. "No." "Why is that funny?" "Nothing." "Mrs. Bell." The older woman suddenly became very interested in arranging peppermint sticks. Clara narrowed her eyes. "You know something." I know many things. About Adrian? Mrs. Bell's expression became carefully neutral. I suggest you ask Adrian. That only irritated Clara more. Before she could continue, Oliver appeared beside the stall. This time, his governess stood several yards behind him. Clara smiled despite herself. You have supervision today. Oliver sighed. Apparently I am considered unreliable. An excellent conclusion. He placed a coin on the counter. No peppermint. What do you actually like? Chocolate. Clara handed him one. He leaned closer. Father wants to speak with you. Your father seems to want many things. He is over there. Clara looked. Adrian stood beneath a tree at the edge of the promenade. Today he wore a simple dark coat rather than the severe black one from the day of the accident. He looked almost ordinary. Almost. Clara walked toward him. You sent your son as a messenger? He volunteered. What do you want? A favor. Clara raised an eyebrow. That is a dangerous beginning. Adrian held out a folded piece of paper. She did not take it. What is that? An interview. Her expression changed. At St. Anne's School. Tomorrow morning. Clara stared at him. You arranged this? I spoke to someone. Anger rose unexpectedly. I told you I did not want payment. This is not payment. It certainly resembles it. You lost an opportunity because you saved Oliver. That was my decision. And this is mine. Clara stepped back. No. Adrian frowned. You want employment? Yes. Then why refuse? Because I will not begin a position wondering whether I earned it, or whether a wealthy man opened the door because he feels indebted. His voice softened. I cannot repay what you did. Then stop trying. I am not trying to repay you. Then what are you doing? Adrian looked at her for a long moment. Repairing what it cost you. The anger in Clara weakened. Only slightly. He placed the folded paper on a nearby bench. If you attend the interview, the headmistress will judge you herself. I asked for nothing more. Clara glanced at the paper. And if I refuse? Then you refuse. He turned to leave. Adrian. He stopped. Why are you really here every day? His back remained toward her. Because lately I have discovered there are things in this park I should have been seeing for myself. Then he walked away. Over the next several days, Clara saw more of him than she expected. He appeared beside attractions without warning. He spoke quietly with engineers. He inspected account books. He questioned workers. And, increasingly, he found excuses to pass Mrs. Bell's stall. Sometimes he spoke to Clara for 5 minutes, sometimes 20. Oliver was almost always nearby. Slowly, Clara learned things Adrian had not intended to tell her. His wife had died 3 years earlier. Since then, Oliver had been kept under suffocating supervision. You do not allow him to breathe, Clara told him one afternoon. Adrian looked offended. He breathes perfectly well. You know what I mean. He nearly died 4 days ago. And if you lock him inside his bedroom for the next 10 years, he may become very safe and completely miserable. Adrian's eyes narrowed. You have opinions about everything. Only things that are obvious. Oliver, sitting nearby, whispered, I like her. Adrian gave his son a look. Clara tried not to smile. But behind those lighter moments, the park was changing. 3 rides remained closed. 2 inspectors arrived from London. Sebastian Vale began watching Clara openly. And then, one afternoon, he approached her. Miss Bennet. Clara stiffened. Mr. Vale. You have become rather close to Mr. Whitmore. The name meant little to her. She had heard Adrian called Mr. Whitmore once before, but thought nothing of it. We speak. Be careful. With Adrian? Sebastian smiled thinly. You do not know him. And you do? Better than you. He produced several documents. What are these? Plans. Plans. Clara glanced over them. Sections of the park were marked for closure after summer. Staff reductions. Redevelopment. Her stomach tightened. Sebastian lowered his voice. Men like Whitmore do not see workers. They see expenses. Clara looked toward the promenade. Adrian was speaking with an engineer. Why show me this? Because he has made you useful to him. That is absurd. Is it? You speak with workers. They trust you. Then, suddenly attractions are closed and inspectors appear. Clara felt cold. He told me he was concerned about safety. And perhaps he is. Sebastian leaned closer. Or perhaps he requires an excuse to empty this park before selling the land. He walked away. Clara stared at the documents in her hands. For the first time, doubt entered where curiosity had been. That evening she confronted Adrian. She found him near the closed railway. Are you shutting the park? He looked surprised. What? After summer. Are you dismissing workers? Who told you that? Answer me. His silence was enough to make her angrier. Sebastian. Adrian exhaled slowly. Clara, there are things I cannot explain yet. You expect me to trust you while giving me none of yours. This is more complicated than... No. She shook her head. That is what powerful men always say when they want someone else to stop asking questions. His expression hardened. You do not understand what is happening. Then tell me. I cannot. Then do not ask me to help you. She turned and walked away. Clara. She kept walking. Behind her, Adrian did not follow. That hurt more than she expected. 2 nights later, Whitmore Pleasure Gardens held its annual Summer Illumination Festival. Thousands of lamps burned across the grounds. Music filled the promenade. Families crowded every attraction. Clara had never seen the park so busy. Then she heard the railway whistle. A carriage was preparing to depart. Something about the sound made her turn. A maintenance worker stood beside the brake lever. His face was white. He pulled once. Nothing happened. He pulled again. Clara dropped the tray she was carrying. What is wrong? The worker looked at her. The brake. Her blood went cold. The warning. Someone will be killed next time. Passengers were already climbing aboard. Stop them. The worker hesitated. Mr. Vale ordered us to keep running. Clara stared at him. You know the brake is failing? He looked away. Clara ran. She reached the boarding platform and planted herself across the entrance. No one boards, visitors protested. An attendant grabbed her arm. Miss Bennett, stop this train. Sebastian Vale appeared from the crowd. His face darkened. What are you doing? The brake is failing. That has not been confirmed. The mechanic just told me. Sebastian leaned close. Move. No. You are an employee in a confectionery stall. And you are about to send families onto a machine your own worker says may not stop. People began listening. Murmurs spread. Sebastian's face reddened. Remove her. 2 guards stepped forward. Then a voice behind them said, No. Everyone stopped. Adrian was standing at the edge of the platform. Sebastian swallowed. Mr. Whitmore, with respect. No one removes her. Silence. Clara looked at Adrian, then at Sebastian. Something inside her shifted. Mr. Whitmore. Her eyes moved slowly toward the great illuminated arch above the park entrance. Gold letters shone against the night. Whitmore Pleasure Gardens. Her breath caught. She looked back at Adrian. Workers had lowered their heads. Managers had gone silent. Sebastian himself stood rigid. Clara whispered, No. Adrian stepped toward her. Clara, you own it. He said nothing. Her eyes widened. The Ferris wheel. Yes. The railway. Yes. The gardens. The theaters. All of it? Yes. She felt suddenly foolish. Every unexplained gesture. Every bowed head. Every locked gate he could open. Oliver wandering through the grounds as though the park were his garden. Because it was. You let me speak to you like a fool. Adrian's face tightened. You never spoke like a fool. You knew I did not know. Yes. And you said nothing. I wanted... What? Her voice broke slightly. To see how long you could deceive me. No. He stepped closer. You were the only person here who spoke to me as though I were simply a man. Clara stared at him. That does not make the lie kinder. She turned and walked away. This time, Adrian followed 2 steps, then stopped himself. Clara. She did not look back. Within the hour, Adrian shut down the railway. By midnight, 4 more attractions were closed. He ordered every major machine inspected before another passenger could ride. Sebastian watched from the administration building. His face had gone pale. Because he knew what the engineers would find. Missing repairs, false inspection records, and money. Years of it. Gone. But there was one thing even Adrian did not know. The Ferris wheel had not failed from simple neglect. Someone had removed a sound fastening days before the accident. A rusted one had been placed in its position, and the mechanic who had done it had been paid in cash. Clara returned to Mrs. Bell's stall long after closing. She only wanted her coat. Then she heard movement inside. Who is there? Silence. Clara picked up a wooden serving paddle. A small figure emerged from beneath the counter. Oliver? He looked miserable. What are you doing here? I ran away. Clara closed her eyes. Of course you did. Father is angry with me. Your father is currently frightened to death. He does not listen. That appears to be hereditary. Oliver almost smiled. Then he held something out. A small leather notebook. I found this in Mr. Vale's office. Clara stared at it. You went into Sebastian's office? I was looking for you. Oliver. The park lights went out. Every one of them. Darkness swallowed the promenade. Clara froze. Then came the sound of metal gates closing. One. Then another. Oliver grabbed her hand. Miss Clara? Stay close. Footsteps echoed outside. Slow. Measured. Then Sebastian Vale's voice drifted through the darkness. Miss Bennet? Clara pulled Oliver behind her. The footsteps came closer. You should have taken the money, Sebastian called softly, when you had the chance. Clara looked down at the leather notebook in Oliver's hand, and suddenly she understood. Sebastian was not looking for her. He was looking for what the boy had stolen. Clara's fingers closed around Oliver's wrist. Give me the notebook. He obeyed immediately. She slipped it beneath the folds of her coat. Outside the confectionery stall, Sebastian's footsteps slowed. Miss Bennet? Clara said nothing. Oliver's breathing had become shallow. She bent close to him. Listen to me. Whatever happens, you stay beside me. He nodded. Do not run unless I tell you. Another step. Then another. Sebastian's silhouette appeared beyond the window. I know you are inside. Clara looked around. The front entrance would lead directly toward him. The rear door opened into the narrow service lane behind the stalls. She took Oliver's hand and moved quietly toward it. The hinges groaned. Sebastian stopped walking. Clara froze. Then his voice came sharply. Stop. She ran. Oliver followed. They burst into the service lane just as Sebastian entered the stall behind them. Clara. They ran between shuttered buildings. The park that had seemed magical beneath thousands of lights only hours earlier now felt like a maze. Dark rides towered over them. Canvas banners snapped in the wind. The enormous Ferris wheel stood against the moonlit sky like a black skeleton. Where are we going? Oliver whispered. I do not know yet. That is not comforting. Neither is running away from home. Even terrified, Oliver looked ashamed. Clara pulled him behind the wooden railway platform. Sebastian's footsteps passed several yards away. They crouched. For a moment, neither breathed. Then Oliver whispered, I only wanted Father to bring you back. Clara looked at him. What? He has been miserable since you stopped speaking to him. This is not the moment. He walks around the house. Oliver. And yesterday he stood at the window for almost an hour. Despite everything, Clara nearly laughed. Your father owns an entire amusement park and spends his evenings staring through windows? He misses you. Clara's expression softened. Then she remembered where they were. And now he is probably searching half of Blackmere because you disappeared. Oliver lowered his eyes. He will be angry. He will be terrified. That is worse. Yes. A noise came from the promenade. Clara peered around the railway structure. Sebastian was searching the stalls. He was not alone now. 2 men accompanied him. One was the gray-capped mechanic Clara had seen beneath the Ferris wheel. Her stomach tightened. We cannot stay here. She looked toward the administration buildings. Beyond them stood a tall central tower, from which the park's electrical lighting system was controlled. During the illumination festival, workers had shown Clara the great switchboard responsible for thousands of lamps. An idea formed. Dangerous, but possible. Come. They moved again. Across the park, Adrian Whitmore had discovered his son missing 20 minutes earlier. By then, every trace of the composed park owner had vanished. Search every building. Workers scattered. Check the beach road. Yes, sir. The station. Yes, sir. And send someone to Mrs. Finch's boarding house. A guard hesitated. Sir? What? Mrs. Bell says Miss Bennet is also missing. Adrian went still. Clara? She returned to collect something from the stall. When? Shortly before the lights failed. Adrian turned toward Sebastian's office. Empty. His blood went cold. Where is Vale? Nobody answered. Adrian understood. Years earlier, after his wife died, he had convinced himself that distance protected him. If he worked less, trusted managers more, and kept Oliver carefully guarded, perhaps nothing else could be taken from him. Now his son was somewhere inside his own park. And once again, Adrian had not seen danger until it was already close. He grabbed a lantern. Sir, a guard said, let us search. Adrian looked at him. I am searching. Clara and Oliver reached the old mirror pavilion. They slipped inside. Moonlight fractured across dozens of glass panels. Oliver stopped. Miss Clara. What? Someone is behind us. Clara saw the reflection. Sebastian. He stood at the doorway. Enough. Clara pushed Oliver behind her. Sebastian entered slowly. You have caused considerably more trouble than you understand. Clara kept her voice steady. You almost killed him. Sebastian glanced at Oliver. That was never the intention. Oliver stared. Clara felt sick. The Ferris wheel. Sebastian sighed. You should have left this alone. You replaced the fastening. I gave an instruction. And a child nearly died. I needed Whitmore frightened. Clara stared at him. Why? Because frightened men make poor decisions. He stepped farther into the pavilion. Adrian had begun questioning the accounts. He wanted an audit. I needed him to believe the park had become too dangerous, too burdensome, too painful. So he would sell. Sebastian smiled faintly. At a considerable discount. The truth landed. You have been stealing from him. From a man who possesses more money than he could spend in 3 lifetimes. You stole maintenance money. I redirected funds. You let machines rot while families climbed onto them. His smile disappeared. Do not become righteous with me. Oliver suddenly spoke. You tried to kill me. Sebastian looked at him. No, you were never supposed to be in that carriage. Adrian's rules normally kept Oliver away from major attractions unless accompanied. But that afternoon, Oliver had slipped from his governess and boarded alone. Sebastian had known, and still allowed the wheel to turn. Clara's anger became colder. You saw him enter. Sebastian said nothing. That is why you looked afraid afterward. Silence. You knew. I had already gone too far. Clara shook her head. No, you had one more choice. You could have stopped the wheel. Sebastian's jaw tightened. Give me the notebook. Clara's hand instinctively moved toward her coat. His eyes followed it. There. He stepped closer. Clara backed away. Behind them, hundreds of reflections made it impossible to judge distance. "Clara," Sebastian said, almost gently, "give it to me, and you may walk away." "You said that before? I am offering you another opportunity." "And Oliver?" Sebastian looked toward the boy. That answer was enough. Clara suddenly grabbed a wooden stand supporting one of the mirrors and pushed. The mirror crashed between them. Glass exploded across the floor. "Run!" She and Oliver fled through the opposite door. Sebastian shouted behind them. They raced toward the illumination tower. Adrian heard the glass break. He turned. "Oliver!" A faint shout answered. Adrian ran. Clara climbed the tower stairs 2 at a time. Oliver struggled behind her. At the top stood the massive control platform overlooking Whitmore Pleasure Gardens. Below, the entire park lay dark. Sebastian emerged at the bottom of the staircase. "Clara!" She pulled Oliver upward. They reached the switchboard. Rows of levers lined the wall. Clara remembered one, the master illumination control. If she could light the park, workers searching outside would see them. But Sebastian had already reached the platform. He seized Oliver by the shoulder. The boy cried out, "Let him go!" Clara lunged. Sebastian dragged Oliver toward him. "Notebook." Clara stared at Oliver. He was frightened. Exactly as he had been in the Ferris wheel. But this time they were not 70 feet above the ground. This time she knew precisely what she had to do. She pulled the notebook from her coat. Sebastian reached for it. Clara threw it. Not toward him. Over the railing. Sebastian's face changed. He released Oliver instinctively and lunged after it. Clara pulled the master lever. For half a second, nothing happened. Then Whitmore Pleasure Gardens came alive. Thousands of electric bulbs exploded into brilliance. The Ferris wheel glowed. The theater fronts blazed gold. The promenades shone white. Every tower, archway, and pavilion appeared at once. The illumination platform stood exposed above them all. And Adrian looked up. Oliver. He saw his son. He saw Clara. He saw Sebastian. Workers below began shouting. Sebastian looked over the railing and realized the entire park could see him. He ran. Adrian reached the bottom of the tower as Sebastian descended. Their eyes met. For years, Adrian had trusted the man. For years, Sebastian had smiled across dinner tables, signed inspection reports, and assured him everything was under control. Now Adrian said only, "Where is my son?" Sebastian shoved past him. He made it 3 steps. Then the gray-capped mechanic emerged from the darkness. Sebastian stopped. The mechanic looked terrified. But this time he did not move aside. "I did it," the man said. Sebastian's face drained. The mechanic looked at Adrian. "He paid me to change the fastening." Sebastian stepped toward him. "Be quiet." "No." The mechanic's voice shook. "I changed it. I knew the boy had climbed aboard. I should have stopped the wheel." More workers gathered. "And the maintenance money?" Adrian asked. The mechanic looked toward Sebastian. "Gone. Years of it." Sebastian attempted to push through the crowd. 2 constables arriving through the main gate blocked him. There was nowhere left to run. As they seized him, Sebastian looked back at Adrian. "You would never have noticed." Adrian's face became unreadable. That sentence hurt, because part of it was true. He had owned Whitmore Pleasure Gardens, but for too long he had not truly seen it. Adrian climbed the tower. Oliver ran into him. Adrian dropped to his knees and held his son so tightly Oliver protested. "I cannot breathe." "Good. That makes no sense. I do not care." Oliver laughed through tears. Then Adrian looked at Clara. She stood several feet away, dirty, breathless, still angry with him, still the most welcome sight he had ever seen. "You saved him again." Clara shook her head. This time he did rather well himself. Oliver looked proud. Adrian stood. "I owe you." Clara raised one finger. "If you offer me money, I may push you from this tower." For the first time that night, Adrian laughed. A real laugh. Oliver stared at him as though he had witnessed another miracle. Whitmore Pleasure Gardens did not reopen the next morning, or the morning after that. Adrian closed every major attraction. Engineers inspected every bolt, break, and beam. The public expected him to hide what had happened. Instead, Adrian issued a statement accepting responsibility. He refunded advance tickets. He paid injured workers and kept the entire permanent staff on wages while the park remained closed. When accountants uncovered Sebastian's theft, Adrian replaced every missing maintenance fund personally. Clara watched all of it. Not from admiration. Not at first. She watched because she wanted to see what a powerful man did when blaming someone else would have been easier. Adrian blamed Sebastian for the crime, but himself for not noticing. That mattered. A week later, Clara attended the interview at St. Anne's School. She was offered the position. When she told Adrian, he smiled. "I am pleased." "You do not look pleased. I am attempting maturity. It does not suit you." He almost smiled. "When do you leave?" "Next Monday." He nodded. He did not ask her to stay. That surprised her, and somehow hurt. Oliver was less restrained. "You cannot leave. I am not leaving England. You are leaving the park. I do not live in the park." "You practically do." "Oliver." He folded his arms. "Father will be miserable." Adrian closed his eyes. "Oliver." "What?" "You told me never to lie." Clara looked away quickly. 3 months passed. Autumn arrived. Then came reopening day. Whitmore Pleasure Gardens looked different. Cleaner, safer, brighter. Beside the South Pavilion stood a new brick building. Clara stared at the sign above it. Whitmore School and Reading Room. Mrs. Bell appeared beside her. "What is this?" "A school for employees' children." Clara smiled slowly. "Adrian's idea?" "The building was..." Mrs. Bell handed her an envelope. "The headmistress was ours." Clara opened it. Inside were dozens of signatures. Workers, vendors, engineers, servants. They were asking Clara Bennett to become the school's first headmistress. She looked across the promenade. Adrian stood beside Oliver. He had not arranged it. For once. Clara laughed. Then she walked toward him. "You had nothing to do with this?" "Very little." "That must have been painful." "Extremely." She looked at the school, then at him. "I accept." Oliver cheered. Adrian simply smiled, but Clara saw what he was trying not to show. Relief. That evening, as thousands of lamps illuminated the park, Oliver stopped beside the Ferris wheel. "No." Clara knew immediately. "You have not even asked. You know the question. You climbed it when it was broken. There was a child in danger. The child would now like a ride." Adrian joined them. Clara glared at him. "Do not encourage him." "I would never dare." 10 minutes later, Clara was sitting inside a carriage. Oliver grinned opposite her. Adrian sat beside her. The wheel began turning. Clara gripped the rail. Adrian noticed. "You are frightened." "No. You are crushing that handle." "I dislike heights." "You climbed 70 feet. I believe we have already established that circumstances were unusual." The carriage rose. Below them, the park became a field of golden lights. Halfway up, the wheel paused. Clara went rigid. Adrian smiled. "Passengers are boarding below." "It had better be." Oliver suddenly called to the attendant in the next carriage. "I want to ride with Mrs. Hart." Before Clara understood what he was doing, the boy had changed carriages at the loading platform during the next rotation. When Clara and Adrian rose again, they were alone. "You planned that," Clara said. "I did not. Your son is 8 and already a conspirator. That may be hereditary." They reached the top. The wheel stopped again. Clara looked straight ahead. Adrian looked at her. "You climbed this high when it was broken. There was a little boy who needed me. And now, She turned. Now what? His voice softened. What would persuade you to remain when nobody needs rescuing? The lights below them shimmered. Clara understood. Not the school. Not employment. Not gratitude. He was asking something larger. Something more frightening than climbing iron. Adrian, I do not want you here because you saved Oliver. He took her hand. I do not want you because I owe you anything. His thumb moved softly across her fingers. I want you because every room seems quieter when you leave it. Clara's throat tightened. And because you argue with me. That is your reason? One of several. She smiled. Adrian continued. If you stay, Clara, stay because you choose to. She looked down at their joined hands. Months ago, she had climbed toward his son because somebody had needed rescuing. This was different. There was nobody to save, nobody to repay. Only a man offering his heart without hiding behind wealth, authority, or obligation. Clara looked at him. Perhaps being wanted is enough. Adrian's expression changed. Then, stay. She smiled. That is considerably better than the money you offered me. He laughed. Then kissed her. Below them, Oliver saw. His cheer could be heard from the next carriage. Clara pulled away, laughing. Your son is watching. He has been interfering in my affairs for months. He takes after his father. I was afraid you might say that. The wheel began descending. And for the first time since Clara Bennett entered Whitmore Pleasure Gardens searching for employment, she did not wonder what waited for her beyond its gates. She already knew where she belonged. She had come to the park with little more than a torn future and enough money for 2 nights in a boarding house. She left its Ferris wheel with something she had never expected to find. A little boy who trusted her, a community that wanted her, and a man who had finally learned that loving someone did not mean locking danger away. It meant giving them a reason to come home. And perhaps that was why, years later, visitors still told the story of the young woman who climbed a broken Ferris wheel to save a stranger's child. They always spoke about her courage. They spoke about the scandal. They spoke about the owner, who almost lost everything because he trusted the wrong man. But those who knew Clara best understood something the newspapers never did. The bravest thing she did that summer was not climbing toward a terrified little boy. It was eventually allowing his father to climb toward her. And beneath the thousands of lights of Whitmore Pleasure Gardens, Clara Bennett finally discovered that sometimes the life waiting for you begins on the very day you believe everything has gone wrong.